With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Now, of course, one of my most anticipated movies coming out over the next, couple of years is James Gunn's Superman. Not just because it's Superman, and not just because it's James Gunn, because I love both of those things, but mostly because it's our first live action. It's the first door we walk through in a brand new DC cinematic universe, where we're going to get our sense about what is this universe going to feel like? What's it going to be like? I have high hopes for this movie. I think it's going to be great. I think the casting's been wonderful. I think the people they have working behind the camera is wonderful. And of course, you got James Gunn, who is just in my opinion, a complete and utter winner. That's just what he does. He just wins. And so I'm super excited about this. Now, in today's age of movies, it used to be that films never would do reshoots. And when they did, that was a massive red flag. But in today's movie-making world, most big blockbuster movies plan reshoots in advance. Now it's just a normal part of the operation. Kevin Feige talked about this with Marvel, says, oh yeah, we schedule weeks of reshoots before we even start shooting the movie. Because we know it's somewhere along the lines we might have better ideas or we might whatever, and we like to budget and we've got the money, so we like to plan all that. So that's kind of become commonplace. But when a online social media person asked James Gunn, hey, you're going to be getting ready to do some reshoots for Superman? He said, probably not. He said, as a matter of fact, of the last two movies that I did, which would be Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Suicide Squad,
right?
He said, of the last couple of movies that I did a combined 1 day of reshoots. 1 day for two tentpole comic book movies. Today, that's basically unheard of. And when asked about his secret for doing that, James Gunn said this. He goes, I've got 6 tips. This is James Gunn's recipe for not needing to do reshoots.
It's masterclass.
Masterclass. This is his masterclass right here.
Go. Listen up, folks.
Number 1, over-prepare, Gunn said. Just make sure before you start, do not start rolling cameras until you've got every button done up, every I dotted, every T crossed. Number 2, I don't start shooting until I have a finished script that my whole team is happy with. A lot of movies today, and some excellent movies, by the way, but a lot of movies today, just when they're like 90% there and like, we'll work on this as we go. And they go into production, start filming, sometimes to great results, sometimes not so much. So number 1, he says, over prepare. Number 2, he says, I don't start shooting until I have a finished script that every single person of my team is completely happy with. Number 3, he says, hire actors and department heads I know can do their jobs. James Gunn often likes to work with people that he has worked with before. Many directors do, and I think this is one of the big reasons why. It is a huge load off your shoulders. Listen, I'll speak to this out of personal experience. As somebody who has run teams as small as 3 to 5 people and run teams as large as 30 people. Nothing means more to somebody in the big chair than knowing they can rely on the people around them. I've always told people that work with me, the number one thing I value in people is that if you say something's going to get done, I never have to worry about it again. I know I don't have to even spend another second thinking about it. You said it's going to get done. I know it's going to get done. And it'll get done well. There is nothing more valuable to a director, to a head, to a manager than being surrounded by people that they know how to do their job. And that's a key thing to James Gunn.
Yeah, Jonathan.
I'm trying. I'll get there. It's taken me a decade, but I'll get there.
Number 4, and this is something certain people like maybe M. Night or even George Lucas should have listened to. Surround myself with people who will challenge me and not just yes, sir, everything. I've talked about this a lot. I honestly think that's what ultimately led to the downfall of the prequels. When you watch all the stuff, like all the behind the scenes stuff, all the special features, it's George Lucas and that's it. Everybody else's job is just to say, yes, sir, and do whatever it is George says. Nobody had the ability, the power, or the position to offer George pushback. Because George is paying for the whole thing, you know, like and we see that in certain places. James Gunn says, I don't want those people around me. I want people who are going to push back because we'll get better ideas that way, right? So he says that. Number 5, he says, ask myself daily, are there any small imperfections in the script or what we're shooting that might end up feeling like huge imperfections when we cut the film together? I have to admit, speaking from personal experience again, I can attest to this because there have been times in my career, going back to the movie blog or AMC or even on the John Campea Show, where there's something that I recognized was a bit of a problem, but I decided to ignore it. It's just a bit of a problem. The problem is later on you realize it's a big problem. And it would have been much easier to deal with or handle or correct or course correct, whatever, if you had just dealt with it immediately. James Gunn has a rule for himself that the tiny problems pay attention to right away. Don't wait for them to become big problems. Don't deal with them later. Don't use the phrase, we'll fix it in post. Don't use that phrase. Deal with problems right now if problems arise. And then he says in number 6, number 1 and number 2 again. Over prepare and don't start shooting to your script is absolutely right. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Gametime. My wife Ann and I love going to events, whether they're comedy shows, concerts, an LA Lakers game. I mean, just the other night we went to go see Ronnie Chang and it was awesome. We love having these new experiences and new memories. And our sponsor Gametime makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier, even if you don't buy tickets right away. Because prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer you get to the show start time. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying event tickets. I couldn't believe how easy and most importantly, intuitively, the entire app works. Finding the event I was looking for couldn't have been easier. The way it lays out the map of the venue, letting you know exactly where the seats are that you're looking for, and how easy the process was to choose and buy those tickets. So don't worry if you think you're too late to get tickets to that big event you and your friend want to go to. They have last minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. So guys, take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code CAMPEA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CAMPEA, C-A-M-P-E-A, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And listen, all those things sound like really good common sense approaches, right? But they're approaches a lot of studios and a lot of our favorite filmmakers don't follow today. And if you want to wonder why James Gunn gets it, it's because of this. James Gunn's background for decades of his career was low budget, shoestring resources projects that he shot. And when you are a filmmaker for decades, on low budget shoestring stuff with no big budget backup system, you are forced to make sure that you're making your films in such a way that you don't have to spend one penny more than you need to. And when you take that approach and you make sure everything's perfect first, and you make sure you get all the right people, and you surround yourself with people who will challenge you, and you do all that kind of stuff, then when you shoot your movie, you've shot your movie.
Yeah, Blade. Why don't you take these tips already?
Yeah, I don't know. I only a couple of these apply to Blade. It has to be written first.
It has to be 1 and 2, I think, would apply to Blade.
Yeah.
So
Have your script.
yeah, I mean, so this is good. Now listen, at the end of the day, this is still a big budget film. Maybe James Gunn in edit comes up with a better idea for something, and maybe he does decide, you know what, we'll do 3 or 4 days of reshoots. Totally within his purview to do that. But I love hearing that a modern director on big tentpole films, and he's done 2 of them recently, says, I did 1 day of reshooting combined for both of those. It gives me a lot of faith in him as a filmmaker, and it gives me a lot of faith in Superman. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn is saying he doubts he's going to have to do reshoots for Superman because they've made sure they had everything the way he wanted it before they started shooting. What do you think about the tips he gives for making sure you shoot it right the first time, every time? Do you think it's practical in today's movie making environment? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.